this looks a little bit different now, doesn't it? All the brickwork's been acid washed. We've got a day's worth of pointing. We've pointed the inset. And the chamfer around the edge where the old fireplace inset went. It's some like ne'er-do-well tradesman has smashed all the corners off the bricks. So what I've done is I've dressed the existing bricks up, and then the damaged bricks they're after him now. They're after that tradesman. We've cut some brick slips and just superimposed them into the gaps. Mortared it in with a lime mortar. That should just finish it off beautifully. What else have we done? Done the patchwork. Can't even see where we've patched it in. And the client's, he wanted his family's his parents' initials either side of the fireplace. It's really difficult for me to carve it into the brickwork. I'm just going to go over it with a little bit of black paint and make it pop out. You can't see my shoddy carving skills then. All this is pointed, so we scratched all this off this morning, dressed it up, so we've left a little bit here, left a little bit more of the application of the mortar to put on, so you can see how we do that. I'm not going to go through all the ins and outs of the lime mortar because I've got plenty of other videos that you can go and have a look at regarding mixing, application, preparation, such and such. So this has already been first this morning we dampened everything off, so we can just start applying this now. So with the brickwork, I always put the mortar into the horizontals first, with both sides of the trowel, work it in. Now just have to be careful because we have acid washed these bricks, not to get too many snots over the edge of our brickwork, because because we've cleaned it up, it's a lot more porous now, is this brick. So it will hold stains a little bit more readily than the old brickwork before we acid washed it. So we're using both sides of the trowel to work that mortar right into the back. And as I said earlier on in the video, we've broken out these joints so they're twice as deep as they are wide. So we've got a right good adhesion of mortar there. Nothing's going to be falling out. It should hold the mortar in nicely. And keep working it in like that. So the old lime mortar, you might be wondering why there's a difference in the colour. So the ash lime mortar, that was used by like at the end of the streets back in the Victorian days, and even up to my granddad. He was doing his thing in the 60s and 70s, and he says in Salford he can remember the bins at the end of the streets where people put the ashes out of the fire, and then the council will come and collect it. He said what happened with that then is it went down to the builders' yards. I don't know if you bought it off them, if the builders' yards bought the ashes. They all got pulverised and then put into the lime mortar mix as a pozzolan. So that makes it go off a little bit quicker and a little bit harder, which in the north of England is cold. So you've only got a limited working season with your lime mortar then. So you can't be laying your brickwork in, today it's like 0 degrees out there. So you can't be putting your lime mortar down in 0 degrees. So when it got to autumn time, or just out of the edge of spring, pozzolans would be added to the mortar mix. They go off quite a bit quicker. It's not quite harder mortar. But now we don't tend to use the old ash, crushed ash in our lime mortar mixes. Because people don't use the house coal anymore. There isn't the availability of the materials, and B, because we can go to the builders merchants, we can get materials that perform just as well that we can add to our lime mortar. Granite dust, crushed brick, you can even get you can get kaolin, make it go off a little bit quicker, sharp sands, so we don't have to scrat about now for our materials. So as you saw there, just use the side of the trowel again to work the mortar into the back of these more narrow joints, and then dress it in to be horizontal joints like that. We blend all the mortar in then. Oops, put a bit too much on there. You can pull the snots back into the joint. So what we want is a finished, get rid of that. What we want is a finished joint that's ever so slightly proud of the iris of the stone. And you'll see why in a little moment. Push that in there. Work it in either side of the trowel. Pull the snots back. Work it in. Like so. So we applied the majority of this mortar last Friday. It's Monday today, so it's had the weekend to go off. So what we did before we finished, we hung it up with some hessians just to try and keep that moisture in the actual mortar, and that slows down the cure rate of it, because we don't want this mortar going off too quick. If it goes off too quick, it turns straight to chalk, crumbles. It's a dud mortar then. We don't want no dud mortars. So I like using lime mortar, because lime mortar is always softer than the substrate that you're building with. So the finished mortar, when it's softer than the substrate, obviously it doesn't make a difference inside, but if you're outside, if you use a mortar that's harder than your substrate, that can create a situation, a bit greedy there, and create a situation where the water can sit around your hard mortar, your hard cement mortar, and that can punch the face off the bricks. It can damage the stone. We call it spelching up here. So which is why it's always ideal to use a mortar that's softer than your substrate. You know, change a little bit if you're using engineering bricks, or if you're working below the ground, you want a bit harder mortar there. But for anything that's on shore, or use on a house or something, aesthetics, use a softer mortar. So if we were building with lime mortar, we'd be more inclined to use a lime putty, because that creates a more breathable, more malleable and workable mortar for actually laying our brick. But when we're pointing, we stick to using an NHL, natural hydraulic lime. Because with the NHL...
Do you need help up shop?
No, I'm good, cheers pal.
2 minutes.
So when you're using an NHL, you've got clays in that actual lime. You see that little feather joint there? I'm using the side of the trowel just to work it out, make sure that joint's full. Yes, there's clays in the NHLs, and that adds to the performance of the mortar, adds to the waterproofing, but it does ever so slightly reduce the breathability of the mortar compared to using a lime putty. But it's a lot harder wearing than a lime putty mortar. So in the north of England, where it's wet most of the time, cold in the winters, your NHLs will outperform a lime putty based mortar for pointing. But like I say, because we're inside here and it's snug, fairly soon this store's going to be, well, tomorrow this store's going to be burning up and running. It wouldn't make much difference to us. We could just use this lime, more malleable, more workable, but we can get the job done a little bit quicker because it does cure a lot quicker than an NHL mortar. But obviously if you're pointing your chimney breast up with a cement or whatever you want to use, you can take your time with it. You can make it look as good or as bad as you want, depending on how much effort you want to put into it. last little bit. And horizontals. So when I come across to where my perp joints are, I use the end of the trowel just to work it in, and that's better practice really, because when you're outside, if you're pointing a wall outside, you get water ingress into your mortar. It's running straight down there instead of having a little pocket behind where that perp rises up. Just raise that up a little bit. Like I said, you'll see why in a moment. Work that in. The final perp. The penultimate, no, not the penultimate, it's the final perp, isn't it? The last perp. Talking twaddle now, aren't I? Ooh. Work that in. Work that in with the side of the trowel. You can feel there with the trowel and the joint's full. Pull them snots in. Like so. Tiniest little bit in there. There we are. So that's the mortar on the wall. Yeah, so now we need gauging trowel and brushes, and I can't remember where I put the other brush. Never mind, doesn't matter. Right, so finishing the mortar. So this was applied on Friday. So it's cured to like a green hard now. So what that means is the first stage of the curing process. And then once we get to 90 days, probably quite a bit sooner, on an internal job, it changes into a technical set then. So that's as hard, well, not as hard as the mortar, that's a final set of the mortar. Then after that, as the mortar takes on carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it just gets harder and harder. Cure's even better. Just apply that. So what we do is use the edge of the gauger, scrape it back. So we're scraping back this proud face of the mortar. So we got a flush finish to the mortar in between those harrisons of the brickwork. Scrape all them stops off. Keep going. We put a little bit of granite in this mix just to add to the appearance of the mortar. I think it looks a little bit better than just like a creamy finish of the lime mortar. Something else to look at. Just scrape it all back. So if you were to do it too soon, you're pulling a lot of your mortar off. So if you come to your mortar the day after, you think, all right, I'll scrape this off now. But you're pulling it back like that, leave it for another day. It's not like cement where it goes off to the point where you can't work it anymore. It's very forgiving with lime mortar. Unless it's a bit chilly outside, and then it won't forgive you because it'll blow. Scrape all these irises back. This archway. So when you come into the end of your bricks, on a corner, rake it back into your mortar. You've less chance of pulling that mortar out that joint there. And pull it back. Like so. You can even use the side of the trowel just to work it up a little bit like that. You've got a nice even finish on your mortar. Once you're away from the brick, you can come down. When you're away from the edge, you can carry on working it down there. we do on the archway. It's admirable arch. Right, so scrape that off. In there. Now we need the soft brush. So with the soft brush, we just brush the loose off. So everything that we just scraped off, brush the loose off. Like so. And then we get a stiff churn brush. So with the stiff churn brush, we beat the mortar back. So what I want to be doing here is to keep this bit here, so you can see where the mortar's staying onto the brickwork.
That's it, guys.
See, it'll be lovely, thank you. Scrape that off. You can see there, and that's getting rid of all that lime that's on that brickwork. So that's what we want to be aiming for as we're beating this back.
Whoa.
And then as we're beating it back like this, it compacts that surface layer of the mortar. And obviously doesn't make a difference on the inside, but if we're outside, it increases the surface area of the mortar. That allows more moisture to leave the structure, rather than just doing a smooth finish to your pointing. And it also polishes up all this aggregate that's in it. Keep going. You don't have to be shy with it. You can spray away at this. You're not going to damage anything. That green hard pure point of the mortar. Get mad with it. Like so. Same on the verticals, on the perp, sorry. Better off just working one section at a time, because otherwise you'll lose track of where you are. So what that does, it's cleaning up them arises, making a nice contrast between the lime mortar and the brickwork. I'm very impressed how these bricks are cleaned up, like they're brand new here. Clean up all that mortar off them. So let me just see if I can find the outside, I think. So you can get so you can use your churn brush again, or we sometimes have like a yard brush, what Nora Batter used to scrub a doorstep with. That's what we do now, in a circular motion. What that does, see how it's polishing up all that aggregate and that granite's coming through. It just makes a nice finish to the mortar. And with the brickwork, I'm gonna find some bits. So where you've got the open texture of the brickwork here, it cleans up all those pores. So then over the next week or so before we go, we'll mist this job down, slow that mortar cure down a little bit. The windows are open in here, there's no central heating on, so we're not drying it out too quickly, and that'll just allow for a nice optimum cure. And then as it's drying out, as it's curing, this mortar will lighten up a little bit, so it'll go from this grey colour to more of a creamy white. You can do some time. Oh, thank you very much. Brush it off like that. All polished up. So that's that. What else have we done? Yep, so it's a beautiful return. So what we'll do is we'll leave this until tomorrow. Come back and scrape all them up. we'll fit the half now, so go back and see what we've done there.